within the film. With it, not the film. I hate the film of Into the Woods. Why would I say that?
James Corden.
He's so taken by the size and the shape of the sandal that he has to find who owns it and marry her.
Wow, someone had a thing for feet.
Yeah.
Is everybody ready?
Hi, welcome to this week's Watch Along Pod.
This week we watched Cinderella.
Yay! So, this week we've started the Silver Era.
Ooh, fancy.
Yep, I love the Silver Era. Some really good films coming up. Very excited. So, what were your initial thoughts on Cinderella?
Being a man who was a boy, who was a boyish boy, this was for girls. And I really wasn't looking forward to watching it. But that turned around. I actually really enjoyed it. So
Good. Cinderella was one of my faves growing up. I loved Cinderella. I don't know what it is about the whole story and everything, but I think it just has that really magical Disney feel, and I really loved Cinderella when I was little.
yeah, well, I think a lot of people can connect with the rags to riches story.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's so quintessentially Disney.
Yeah.
It's such a big part of the Disney identity.
Yeah.
A lot of people will think of this when you think of Disney.
Yeah.
The castle itself is the main focal point of the Magic Kingdom, Florida.
Mhm.
So
No, not the first castle built.
it's not. It's the biggest and best one, though.
It's not the biggest.
No?
No.
What's the biggest
Shanghai
one?
has the biggest.
Oh, okay.
Because they have 5 princesses in theirs. And this is a very, very, very old story.
Mm-hmm. Goes back thousands of years, the versions of this.
There are so many versions and variations of the Cinderella story, not always called Cinderella, that, I think you'd struggle to read them all, even if you tried. But they all have things that connect them, like something that it's always a poor person marries a rich person. That's sort of the theme of them all.
Yeah.
But the one that this Cinderella is based on is probably one of the best known ones in Europe, which is the French version, called
Cinderellian.
Cinderellian.
Yeah.
That is what a lot of more recent versions and adaptations of Cinderella are based on.
Yeah.
But one of the, probably I would say maybe the second most famous version of this, next to the French and Disney version, is the Grimm version.
So it was a Grimm Brothers version.
They did do their own version of Cinderella.
Okay,
yes.
Because I thought it was a Grimm Brothers story, and then I found out about Cinderellian and was thrown off. So,
well,
okay.
When they did Cinderella, theirs is a little bit more gruesome.
Wouldn't be grim if it wasn't.
Well, true. So very similar to the story we know. Cinderella, her father remarries, has to a woman with 2 daughters, but they are beautiful, her daughters, but vile and black of heart.
Okay, so ugly on the inside.
Ugly on the inside, beautiful on the outside. And Cinderella, growing up, she goes to her mother's grave and cries so frequently that her tears water it into a big tree, like a big willow tree. But in the Grimm tales, the ball happens over 3 nights. So she goes 3 times to the ball. And each time she flees and the prince does something to try and stop her. And in the end, it's... he put something on the stairs, and that's how her shoe falls off.
Right.
So that same thing happens. they find the shoe. They've got to go and find the woman that fits it. When they go round to Cinderella's house, obviously she's locked away, and who we know as Lady Tremaine, I don't know what her name is in the Grimm tale, gets her daughters, and she sees that her daughter's feet aren't going to fit in the shoe. So she takes the first daughter and she cuts off a bit of the heel of her foot.
All right.
And quickly puts her foot into the slipper. And it fits. It's
just covered in blood.
Yeah, well, they don't notice that. And then they start to ride off, and then into the woods. I won't say Grimm because I'm not 100% sure if it's in that version, but the tree is the one that goes, look at the blood inside the shoe, and the prince takes the shoe off and is like, ugh, and then goes back. The other daughter comes forward, and the mum's like, I know, we'll cut off your toe. So it fits. So she cuts off her toe, fits it in the slipper, same thing happens. And then Cinderella tries on the blood-soaked slipper. Lovely. And obviously it fits. And then at the wedding, the sister's eyes get pecked out by birds.
Beautiful.
As retribution.
Wow, is that before or after the toast?
After.
Cinderella.
I actually think when I thought about Cinderella, I thought she's quite a bit of a nothing character. She wants to fall in love. She falls in love. That's it. When I'm rewatching it as an adult, I was like, actually, she's got quite a lot of oomph in her, hasn't she?
She's a bit of a rebel.
She stands up to Lady Tremaine multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
She has self-respect. She, is kind and all of these things. And I thought, actually, I think there's a tendency nowadays for people to drag on the older princesses to be like, oh, it was all about them wanting to be saved by a man, blah, 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 blah. But I don't sort of see that in Cinderella. I think she wanted to find true love and all of those things, which lots of women do. There's nothing wrong with that. But she also had inner strength. And, I think there was more to her than just wanting to be a princess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Quite an inspiring character. Quite a good role model for a lot of young girls, I'd say.
She's had a horrible life.
Yeah.
Mum's died. Her dad's died.
Essentially living as a slave.
Something that I think is really important. We've always said it in every Disney movie. They're so essential to everything. Animals.
Oh, yeah. Especially as a sassy character.
A sidekick.
A humorous companion.
Comedy.
Yeah.
Especially the animals in this.
We've got a few.
There's so many, and I love them all. I really love them all for different reasons. I love the mice.
Yeah.
Even though I don't really like mice in real life. I love the mice in this. All of them are so full of character.
Do you know if all of the mice are named?
Oh, I've got no idea about that.
No, we've got Jack and Gus. That's all I know.
Well, his name's not Gus, is it?
Octavius.
I know, I was really shocked by that.
How does Octavius shorten to Gus?
I don't know. And then they never mention Octavius again. He just becomes Gus.
So what's the point of that line? It serves no purpose.
I know, they could have just gone, I'm going to call you Gus. But yeah. I do love them. I love when she puts the little jumper on Gus. So cute. Oh, I love Gus.
Is he your fave?
He is one of my faves, definitely. I think I like all the mice. I love the birds. I wish birds would come and make my bed and help me bathe in the morning. It would be excellent.
Oh, to be a Disney princess.
Yeah, well, she's not princess at that point.
No, she's not. You're right.
She's a scullery maid. So, you know, if they could just do that for me, I'd be really appreciative. Yeah, and I love Bruno, the doggy.
Oh yeah, I didn't remember Bruno until
I remember there was a dog, but I couldn't have told you his name. But I just love how he's just like, let me sleep. He's just like,
he is a mood. I relate.
The chickens.
Hold on, you're making animals up now. It's only been like 2 days since I watched this, and I don't remember chickens.
She goes outside and she feeds the chickens.
How long is that in the film? Is that just like 2 seconds worth of film?
No, it's a whole scene.
There's a whole scene of feeding the chickens.
So when
you're pulling my leg, I don't believe you.
So when the mice, when she goes food time, she goes outside to feed the chickens, and there's a horse out there.
Yeah.
And she's feeding all the chickens, and the mice want to go out, but Lucifer is sitting by the door.
Oh yeah.
Eventually, they do get outside. And Gus is trying to pick up some of the food, but the chickens are like, no!
Yeah, they devise a whole plan, don't they?
She shoos the chickens away and gives Gus a load of food.
Yeah, I remember. And then he struggles to carry them back. And...
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
so...
talking of the infamous Lucifer, as much as he is a baddie in this, I love him. I love him. Because he's such a cat.
You love a sassy cat.
I love a sassy cat, but I love the bit where she goes to feed him in the morning and he's on his little bed and he looks at her and he's like, no, and turns around. I'm like, that is such a cat thing. Like, a cat would do that.
Mm-hmm.
But he is naughty, but I love him.
Yeah, he is pretty much the main side protagonist in this, isn't he?
Yeah.
No, antagonist.
Antagonist, yeah.
Yeah, he the baddie.
But I can't imagine Lady Tremaine getting Lucifer as a kitten and being like, I know a good name for you, Lucifer.
Yeah, but she's
she is evil.
She's a baddie herself. So
when she walks into the room and she's sitting in the bed like.
Yeah, I love that shot where she's in the bed and Lucifer runs in and jumps up and then both their eyes just appear from the darkness of the veil.
I think she actually is a very scary villain because there's truth in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what makes her even more evil. Like, you can look at the evil witch and things like that. They're not realistic because they're using magic or things like that. But Lady Tremaine is just a person who is just horrible.
Mm-hmm.
So she just is evil.
Yeah, and it makes it believable.
Yeah. Like, ugh, she's horrible. And her daughters, Anastasia
and Drusilla.
That
is not a nice name.
No, I know. Anastasia feels a bit more normal.
Yeah. I have something controversial to say about the Ugly Sisters.
They're not ugly?
They're hot.
What were you looking at?
Hear me out. I don't know. I just don't think they're ugly.
No, I wouldn't say they were ugly, but they're not meant to be conventionally beautiful like Cinderella is.
Yeah, I suppose they've got...
They're ugly personality-wise.
Yeah, ugly personality. Oh, they're horrid. The scene where they tear her dress. Oh, that was heartbreaking. Truly awful.
When they're singing. Sing nightingale, sing sweet nightingale. I was like...
Funny. I love that they've got massive feet. I couldn't help but think of Ichabod last week.
Are those shovels or feet?
Yeah, they're I think they're really good characters. They are very cartoonish. They are very two-dimensional.
Yes, they are. But the royalty, let's talk about the royalty.
Yeah, so, I mean, the main royal that I think we need to speak about, there isn't really much to say about him.
I know, he's not really in it, the prince.
I think he's in it twice.
Yeah, he's barely seen. He doesn't really say anything. And that's it. he's a very non-character.
Mm-hmm.
A bigger character is the king.
Yep, love the king.
I do like the king. I mean, he's a little bit cray-cray. Like, he flips on a switch, like, woo! But I do love the fact that he just wants grandchildren. I'm like, that is so
It's
sweet.
very sweet. That when he has a little daydream of them riding his back around the living room.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, he's like a lovable old grandpa.
He just has an anger issue.
He does. He's got a little bit of the Elmer Fudd about him, where he goes like from 0 to 60 like that.
I loved at the end when they're getting married and she walks and she drops the shoe and he puts it back on and she kisses him on the head and he goes all bright red. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
I think Cinderella will calm him.
The grandkids will keep him under control.
Yeah.
Yeah. And along with the king, we've got his duke. They come as a pair.
Yeah. He's just a bit away with the fairies, isn't he?
He's not very bright.
And he's just scared of the king, I think. He's scared of losing his job, which is, I feel valid considering how the king is.
Yeah.
I think I would be the same.
Mm-hmm. I like the fact that the king and the duke are voiced by the same actor.
Are they?
Yeah. I don't know if he recorded it.
I can't have recorded
as a back and forth. Like, that would have been a bit too much. But yeah.
Clever.
Fact fans.
Who
else do we have?
I think the final big character that we really need to talk about is the fairy godmother.
Who is she?
She's a fairy godmother. She comes from fairy godmother land.
Why? Like, I wanted more context to who she was and why she turned up, when she turned up.
She's a magical fairy godmother. She turns up when you're at your most desperate. I think we should discuss some scenes and songs.
Good idea. Where do you want to start?
My favourite scene, the bubbles.
Oh yeah, that's a song.
It is a song. It's a bad song into a good song. Well, it's the same song, but like you've got the Ugly Sisters singing it terribly.
Yep.
Into Cinderella beautifully singing it.
Yes.
And even Lucifer realizes, because he's like, at first he's like, and then he's like, she's singing good, and then he's like, but I'm gonna ruin it.
It's nearly good enough to win him over.
Yeah. But I just love the whole design of that scene. I think it's so beautifully animated. The bubbles, they feel real. Like, I know that sounds silly, but like watching something that old and the bubbles feel like I could pop them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're just so beautiful. And then when you see her in the bubbles and there's multiples and it's just, oh, I love it.
Yeah. I liked the song, and I especially liked the way that they harmonised her with herself.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah, it was another one of those pioneering moments from Disney, and something that went on to be widely used and in popular music. But yeah, I think it's really effective. It's a nice song.
Great scene.
It is a good scene. Did you know that there's a hidden Mickey in that scene?
Why am I missing all the hidden Mickeys?
Come on, you got to step your game up.
Right.
Yeah, some of the bubbles, as they're floating up, form a hidden Mickey on the left side of the screen.
There
you go.
Well, now I know.
Did anyone else spot that? Just me? So the bit I wanted to talk about was the strike of midnight, because I have some problems with that scene.
Okay, tell me.
Cinderella is told that at the strike of midnight, everything will change back to normal.
Yep.
Why did the slippers not change back?
She thanks the fairy godmother that they didn't.
Does she?
Yeah. So when they point out Cinderella, the slipper, like the mice, and she takes it off of her foot, she looks up and she goes, thank you.
Okay.
Because it's like the fairy godmother has given her something to just remember everything by. But really, what it is the fairy godmother knows that's going to be her key.
She's playing matchmaker.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right. I'll let this one go, but riddle me this.
Go then.
Clock starts striking 12 while Cinderella is still with the prince.
Yeah.
She gets away from the prince, she gets into the carriage and gets like a mile away from the house.
Yeah.
While the clock is still striking. So that's either the fastest horses / mice in the world.
Yeah.
Or that clock's broken.
Yeah, I have always wondered that. Obviously, some clocks strike 12 times to signify midnight.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't count how many strikes there were.
Neither did I. I assumed it was 12 because it kept going.
Yeah. So that does give her some time to get out of there.
Yeah, but to get as far away as she made it, there would need to be like an entire minute between strikes.
I don't know. She doesn't get that far, does she?
I'd say she gets like a good distance away.
Well, no, because she's still in the woods, isn't she?
Yeah, she bails out into the hedge, doesn't she?
She goes into the hedge and then they all go past her as if they're still chasing after her.
Yeah.
So she could have only maybe just got into the woods. Because if the castle's like here and the castle's on the edge of the woods, and then she had to walk home.
Yeah.
That's pretty rubbish. Oh, maybe she rode the donkey.
With one shoe.
Rode the horse.
The horse was a horse.
Yeah. Not when the horse was a footman.
Yeah. Very confusing. I don't know why the horse couldn't be a horse. I suppose that wouldn't have been funny.
Because the horse was not grand enough.
But the horse, he's experienced in being a horse.
Yeah, so he knows how to then get the mice to be good horses.
Horses is.
A song I do love in this is Cinderella, Cinderella.
Yeah. My dad used to sing a version of that, which wasn't very kind towards Cinderella.
Go on.
Cinderella, Cinderella, you were fat and you were smelly.
Mean.
I know. It kind of has spoiled that song forever because
Yeah.
I can only ever hear that now.
I always loved that whole sequence, and they love her so much. And then they make her dress for her.
Yeah, that song's while they're making the dress, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so can we talk about that dress?
Yeah.
Compared to the blue dress,
It's crap.
do you think?
Yeah.
I liked it.
I do like it. I'm not against it, but it is more simple and a more handmade dress rather than the grand glittery ball gown that the fairy godmother gives her.
Do you think the prince would have still fallen in love with her in that dress?
Yeah. Because it's about who Cinderella is. That shines through.
So she could have just turned up in her rags.
I mean, she could have done, yeah. I think that probably would have caught the prince's attention. He would have been like,
Who's this?
what's going on?
Why is she out of the kitchen?
Yeah.
That makes me sound misogynistic.
Bit like the mice in Cinderella.
Yes.
Let the women sew.
Leave the sewing to the women.
I mean, to be fair, I wouldn't trust Gus to sew.
Why?
I'm not sure I'd trust Gus with much.
I'm not sure I'd trust him with anything, yeah. Especially not the food.
No, he'd eat it. Did you feel for him when he was trying to get up the stairs?
I did. I related to that.
It was that he did that first flight and then they get through to the like tower bit and he's like, ah!
Yeah. I felt like that on my way here today. I walked up about 1,000 steps.
We've all been there. We've all got to a staircase and gone, not another one.
Yeah, poor Gus.
Poor Gus. And he's carrying a very heavy key.
Yeah, from Lady Tremaine's pocket.
Lady Tremaine's pocket. I did like when Jack was in the pocket and it was like bang, and he's like, ugh.
Yeah, and the hand starts coming down. He's like, "Ugh."
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very clever.
Good, very suspenseful.
Good scenes. Good scenes. Another scene that we should probably talk about is the shoe fitting scene. Obviously, that is very iconic. Because obviously the sisters are crazy, and they're like, that poor guy who's helping them try the shoe on. They are like kicking him in the face, you know, doing everything they can to try and get that shoe on. It ain't going on, love. You need probably about 3 of those shoes to get your fat foot in it.
No, I wonder what size feet they have.
I would say a 9.
Well, we can try and work this out here because I know what Cinderella's canonical shoe size is. Apparently, because I haven't seen it, but in Cinderella 2, it is revealed that her shoe size is 4.5.
American or UK?
French.
Let's say it was English.
Let's say it's English, so 4.5.
Yep. I'm a 5.
And that shoe, compared to their feet, was like a third of the length.
So maybe like a 12.
Bigger feet than me.
They have got shovels.
They have.
I don't think bigger feet than Ichabod though.
No, he was generally ganglier in every way, wasn't he?
I think they'd be a good match with Ichabod, those girls.
Oh, they'd love him.
They'd love him, and I think he'd do all right with them.
He could give them some singing lessons.
They need it. Now, I think we do have to talk about something that we love here at the Watch Along Pod.
Oh, I think I know what you're going to say. Shall we say it at the same time?
Yeah.
Foreshadowing.
Yes. So sadly, I did not find anything that foreshadowed Alice in Wonderland, which is our next film.
No, or anything else outside of this movie.
No, other than Marty and Mickey. But there was foreshadowing within the film for what was going to happen in the film.
Yep, right at the beginning.
Right at the beginning, she's walking down the stairs, and what happens?
Shoe comes off.
Shoe falls off. Maybe she's got 1 foot smaller than the other.
So I did think this. She's definitely got a problem because the shoe falls off again at the wedding.
I mean, I don't have shoes falling off all the time.
So she might have a condition.
Yeah.
One side smaller than the other. She should probably invest in some inner soles, I'd say.
Yeah, maybe she's got 1 foot's a 4 and one's a 4.5. So she's buying 4.5s, and that's why one keeps falling off. Because it seems to always be the same foot as well. But something else, Cinderella, that I think is something we do need to talk about when talking about this film is the iconic dress.
Yes.
The transformation into that dress is simply beautiful. Absolutely amazing. And I think that's one of the things that probably makes this film so loved, because I think any little girl that watches that wants that to happen. And have a dress like that. It is quintessentially princess. But let's talk about what colour the dress is.
Okay, so is it black and blue or is it white and gold?
No, not that one.
Oh, sorry. It's Cinderella's dress.
Cinderella's dress.
So is it blue or is it silver?
I think it's a silvery blue.
Somewhere in between.
So it's definitely not white, because when you actually look at her wear the white wedding dress at the end, that is different. However, in some shots, it definitely looks much more silver.
Mm-hmm.
And then in other shots, there's more of a blue-silver haze to it. But it is a very light blue, if you are classing it as blue. However, over the years, the images of Cinderella, the blue has got darker and well, not darker, but more blue.
Yeah, it's in all of the promotional material, merchandise and everything since the film, it's very much blue.
And I think that is because she says a dress to match her eyes. She's got blue eyes. And I think when you look at all of the princesses, they've all got quite iconic colours that are associated with them. So I think possibly, I'm not saying this is definite, but what Disney did was they wanted to have, associated colours, because then it is easier to merchandise things.
Mm-hmm.
I do have to say one thing about the dress.
Go.
But I absolutely love the dress in the film. It's beautiful. Every girl wants to wear that. I really appreciate that the live action version upped the game.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen the live action, so.
Because one of my biggest pet peeves about the live action Beauty and the Beast, I'm sure we will talk about more when we get to Beauty and the Beast, is how awful Belle's dress is compared to the animation. It was an abomination. I'm not even joking. Whereas Cinderella upped their game. Beautiful. When she steps out in that dress, I was like, it is a darker blue. So it's not dark blue, but it is like a more blue. It has got butterflies across the top, because there is sort of like a butterfly motif through the whole of the live action. But it is the most poofiest gown I have ever seen. I was like, oh, I need it. And that's the reaction you want as a child. That is that feeling that those gowns, you want to see in those films and be like, oh, I want to be that princess. And the live action really captures that in the live action version of that dress. I just love it.
I think that's a really good example of why a lot of the live action versions are a letdown as well. Because when we saw the originals, we were wowed by something. If it was the dress, if it was the genie's antics and tricks, there was something that made our jaw drop, and we were really won over by the original. And then the recreation is just so underwhelming.
So, two last things to quickly talk about.
Right.
Because I think we've probably filmed for like 2 hours. I think the house looks way more like a castle on the inside than just a grand house.
It does, yeah. It's very, very
grand.
I watched Cinderella with my partner this week, and she pointed something out that made me sit up and go, yeah, you're right, actually.
Okay.
So the scene in particular is outside the bedrooms.
When she's taking breakfast.
In. That hallway is very, very similar to the hallway in Do You Want to Build a Snowman from Frozen. The colour scheme is totally different. The decoration's totally different. But the vibe.
I see what you mean. I think it could be because you don't often see that kind of shot in a film, like of a hall, like that kind of hallway. And I think that it does give that feel. I can see that. Yeah, definitely.
It's just really strange that it has the same sort of energy. Yeah, you're right. Something that sort of contradicted with itself was at the start of the film, they say that the manor is starting to kind of fall apart, where it's not being cared for. You wouldn't think that from the inside.
I don't know. There's a lot of holes for the mice to go through.
But I think that's just an old building thing, isn't it? Even palaces would have had some degree of mouse hole.
I know, there was a lot though. I don't know. I think Cinderella does a good job of cleaning it, but I think there probably was some disrepair going on.
Yeah, she's...
they could have put a disrepair claim in.
She needs to speak to the ombudsman, I think.
And then I think the only thing else we've got to talk about, not even talk about, but let's just compliment the carriage.
Oh, it's lovely.
This is my little carriage. For any collectors out there, this is the popcorn bucket carriage. I got this in Disneyland Paris because I'd seen it loads on Instagram, and I was in Disneyland Paris and saw it and was like, I need it. And I think it's amazing how this has become so synonymous with weddings.
Yeah, not everyone can get married in one, but
No.
Katie Price certainly can and did.
Yeah. But like, if you get married at Disney, if you can afford it, that's one of the things you can have is Cinderella's carriage.
Oh wow, I bet that costs a bomb.
Yeah, it does.
So,
The time has come.
only one thing remains.
The ranking. Dun dun dun!
So I already know that Daisy's putting this somewhere like top 5. No?
No. Not top... Sorry, we never said 1950 this came out.
Yeah.
We normally tell you. Nick, that's usually your job. You forgot it.
I'm really sorry. It's my job to say which year it came out and how it relates to World War II. I'm very sorry. I've let everybody down.
But I wouldn't say it's top 5 now.
Okay, I'm surprised.
No, because I know what's coming.
Okay. I got the idea that this was one of your faves.
I do. I absolutely love it. It's a classic. I could watch it again and again and again, and I genuinely love it. However, it won't be in my top 10. Maybe in the 20s.
Okay.
For me. I definitely think it should be higher up. I think this is the best film we've watched so far. Personally.
Okay.
I think the animation was beautiful. I think the development of the story was better than some of the others. I think just the icon status of it is much higher. You think how many things still are in popular culture today from this movie. Iconic.
Yeah, I can't really argue with you on it. It was very good. I think I preferred Dumbo, I won't lie. But as I told you at the start, I really wasn't looking forward to seeing this film again. I haven't seen it since I was a kid.
Yep.
Don't even think I watched this one with my kid.
Oh.
Not that I can remember anyway. Maybe I left the room when it was on.
He was sleep deprived at that point.
Yeah. But I ended up enjoying this a lot more than I expected to. I noticed that there was a lot more in it.
But it being girly, I don't think it's it's just girly.
No, it's not. It's not. And that's
a lot
what
of
got
stuff
me.
in it.
I think the King and the Duke added a lot of appeal to sort of dads.
And the mice.
Yeah.
You know, I think there's so much more to it. I think when you say Cinderella, people think pumpkin, carriage, dress, fairy godmother, prince.
Falling in love, and
yeah. But actually, there's a lot more to the story.
Pass me the bucket.
That actually is a really sort of tiny bit of the story, even though it's the overarching theme. So much other stuff is happening.
Yeah, and that is something about a lot of these earlier films. The actual story can be summed up in probably about 3 sentences.
Yeah.
And it's everything that pads it out that kind of makes it what it is.
Yeah.
And that certainly is the case with Cinderella. There's a lot in there that just brings it to life and adds character and makes it enjoyable. So I am going to allow it to go somewhere in the 20s, if that's where you want it to go.
I think about like 28, 29.
Yeah.
Because I think there's going to be a lot more films that we really love. But I do think it needs a place higher up. Dip in the camera. If we're just suddenly in a completely different place, that's because I just
Klutz here.
tipped everything over. But here we go. Here's our board.
And here is our card.
And we were just talking about this card because actually, if you look, white underskirt makes this very clearly a pale blue silver. For anyone who didn't agree with us, we are right. 28?
28. That will do. Beautiful.
Excellente.
So, next week.
Next week, we have Alice in Wonderland.
Are you looking forward to it?
Yes and no. There are things I like about Alice, and there are things that I'm a bit like,
It's quite a strange film.
it gives me the panics a little bit.
Is it?
Yeah, when she like keeps eating things and like I'm like, stop it!
Yeah. We'll dive deeper into that next week, I guess. But yeah, I just remember this film being quite bizarre and not much else. But yeah,
again,
it's a classic.
Another film that's been adapted a lot.
Yeah, it's been done to death, really, isn't it?
Yeah. But anyway, all that's left for us to say is remember you're never too old to be young. Bye.
See ya.
Cheerio.
Bye bye.